Welcome to the CasinoSkunk Secret Society. And if you're here for the first time, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Ralph Oppel. In 2006, I started a Lost podcast called The Darmalars with my friends Jimmy, Ben, and producer Ryan. And over the years, through that Lost podcast, I made a lot of friends in the Lost community. And because of that, I am now producing a documentary about Lost with Taylor Morden called Getting Lost, which just took a crazy turn 1 week ago today. And I had brought a lot of those friends along with me to discuss kind of the aftermath of what was written in Mo Ryan's book, Burn It Down. If you haven't read it, the chapter on Lost, you can purchase the book. I have the link down in the bio of this or the description of the show, as well as if you don't want to buy the whole book and you just want to read an excerpt of the chapter, you can find the link at Vanity Fair, which is also in the description. So without further ado, let's bring some folks on. These are all my friends. I know them all because of the television show Lost. And I'll introduce them one at a time. I'm just going to start just getting everybody in here. So co-founder of Cancer Gets Lost, Jo Garfein. Lost mega fan, Karen Mauro. From the Lost podcast with Jack and Jay, it's Jay. And also Jack is here. Jay's wife, an incredible person. I think kind of met Jay through roundabout way Lost, is Colleen. Lost Superfan. I see her every year at the Lost Fans Unite panel that Jay and Jack put on at San Diego Comic-Con. Natasha Fray. We have, oh my gosh, there's so many of us. Lost Superfan, Juliet Stan, Caleb Woods. And we have Axel Foley from the Lost Mythos Theorycast and the director of the upcoming Getting Lost doc, which I am producing with him. You might know his work from Ska, Pick It Up, Ska in the 90s, and probably the last blockbuster. Director Taylor Morden. Oh, we all fit. Good. Yay. Good. And some people might bounce out, some people might come in. How's everybody doing today?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's not bad. I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
Okay is pretty good. And I gotta tell you guys, like a week ago, Vanity Fair released an article which was an excerpt of Mo Ryan's book, and it was pretty earth-shattering to the Lost community. And it's something that I kind of was trying to grapple with. It was a rough day, to say the least. Because I mean, I don't really define my life by Lost. Like I am a fan of like all kinds of stuff. And what happens is when you're fans of all kinds of stuff, you start getting problematic things in there. I'm a huge James Bond fan. Love James Bond. Ian Fleming, the creator of James Bond, super problematic. Super problematic. I was watching You Only Live Twice, which was written by Roald Dahl. Guess what? The creator of Willy Wonka, super problematic. And so I kind of spent the week thinking about my relationship with Lost moving ahead. And it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle because I don't know if I want, like, it's like, I've loved the show for 20 years and I want to continue to love the show, but it's really hard when news like this breaks out. And we're of course talking about the sort of the racist stuff that was going on behind the scenes in the writer's room. And that stuff includes the people at the top. They used to be everyone's favorite showrunners, Damon and Carlton. It's now like forever soiled. And I just want to say that as tough as it's been dealing with this, before the show, as soon as every single one of you started coming into the room in the backstage, my spirits started like getting lighter. I was so excited to see these happy faces. I maybe not happy, but they're definitely faces that just scream this community and I'm hoping more come in. We have some more folks that I've reached out to and said they would join us. We'll see. They may trickle in, and then I'm looking here at the chat for those of you looking at this on YouTube. Familiar faces all around, all kinds of familiar faces, a part of this Lost community. And so my question all week is, where do we go from here with Lost and this fandom? I know that like people who love Buffy have issues with Joss Whedon, and that kind of hampers things. There's things like you find out like certain artists are problematic, and there's a whole thing of separating artists from the art. And I'm curious to know what you guys think as far as moving forward. Is your relationship with Lost completely severed, or is it still there? And I hope you guys don't mind. I'm going to put you guys on the spot. And I think I know how to do this. I think it would be easier if Jay was controlling the back end here because he does his show. I'm going to go through you one at a time. And I'm going to try to make your screen bigger. If everyone is cool with that, I think I do this. Okay. And then
can you do
Jay
it?
is like twitching right now.
There we go.
Woo!
Okay, so Joe.
Hi, everyone. Hello.
I mean,
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, if you want to explain like kind of your brief history with Lost and how you think you're going to move forward with this, because you have a little bit of, everybody has a different story. Yours is a little bit involved because of, as everyone sees, cancer gets lost.
Yes, I would not say it's brief, but I will try to be brief. 20-year anniversary next year. My name is Jo. For those of you who don't know me, I am the co-founder of Cancer Gets Lost. We are a tiny nonprofit, 2 people. We collect memorabilia, try to get it autographed. We auction off and donate all the proceeds to cancer charities. This started because, like many other fans, I attended the Lost auction in Santa Monica in 2010, and it was fun, but everything is out of my price range. And to our knowledge, to this day, not 1 cent of those millions went to charity. So I had a friend at the time who had cancer and was talking with some other fans, including Jared Wong. And we had this sort of light bulb moment of, well, we're minor collectors with eBay and some of our stuff. What if we put some stuff together in an auction for your friend Jackie who has a brain tumor? I'm like, great. Then I get an email from Jorge Garcia about, I have a small piece of the airplane from Oceanic 815 and I'll sign it. Would that help? Yes. Thank you so much. That just kicked off everything. Fast forward 2023, we have held many auctions. We have raised over $425,000 and donated every cent to a cancer charity. We don't keep a cent. We don't earn a cent. We self-fund. But enough about that. I just want to tell you that I am honored to be here and part of this fandom. And to answer your question, I am not doing okay, but I have Cancer Gets Lost. And if I didn't, it would be a different story. Because to me, it'll continue to provide a positive experience for the fans, not just of Lost, but of other shows with problematic showrunners and creators, of which there are many. I think that when things like this happen and truths come out, which do need to come out, it is nice to have something to look forward to. And I will plug this later, but in next year, for the 20th anniversary of our beloved show, we have a giant charity auction full of Lost items that I have been collecting for 13 years. And a lot of the items are signed. That being said, I just want to say on a personal level that I'm choosing to go with the show theme, which is moving on without letting go, because none of the friendships or experiences are marred by this at all. This community, this fan community is absolutely fucking incredible. Pardon my language. I hope there are no children listening to this live stream. But the fandom, I know it keeps many of you on this live stream alive as well. It thrives. It's kind. It's constructive. That we still get into it about theories and possibilities all these years later. And so the friendships and experiences from this show that brought us together is all that matters to me.
All right. I agree. And I think that is a super healthy way to go about it. It is one of these things that I've been thinking a lot about is Taylor and I, and Taylor, I don't think I might, Joe, you might have got the only close-up shot because I think I really want to open this more up to the group, but Taylor and I, we've done, I mean, I don't know if I could say this, but we've done, I think 23 interviews and have something like, how many hours of footage do we have for the documentary?
50 plus hours.
Yeah. And so the documentary has been like a love fest. No one's had any issues. And one of the things I've been trying to think about is that the stuff that was reported in the chapter is pretty unforgivable. Well, I'm not going to say unforgivable. I think everyone should get a second chance. I think that's one of the themes of Lost. Everybody showed up on that island broken. Everybody had something. Well, not necessarily everybody, but the majority of the people on that show had some issues with their past, and I think that we can get through that. I mean, we don't have to sick smoke monsters on them. I mean, I'm sure we wouldn't mind, but we also there's a thing that kind of sucks for the people we interviewed. For the majority of the time, except for a few sort of off the record comments after the cameras were off, everybody had a great time. Everybody had a great time, and we haven't really gotten into the writers yet, and that's something that we're definitely focusing on now that this has come out. Because this will definitely be part of the documentary moving forward in the story we tell. But it does suck that this is something that happened in the writer's room, happened with the showrunners. But there's so many other artists. There's so many other departments that aren't like this. Well, as far as we know. As far as we know, who knows what comes after this book was released. But it's one of those things where I feel like I don't like the term a few bad apples, because it does suck. There's a lot of good that's there, and I think it's I feel bad for them. I really feel bad for those scarred by this. I mean, obviously, like the stories that were told, just devastating. But it is one of those things that's tough to tackle when you're like, I want to sit down and watch my favorite show. So, yeah. Let's go over to Karen. Karen, thoughts? I mean, how do you love Lost? There's no mistake about it.
And there's not going to be anything that's going to change that. So,
right.
That being said, I do have to acknowledge that what has happened has it shook. That first day really shook me. And I had to reel myself back in. Oh, by the way, anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Karen, Lost blogger and podcaster and superfan. So hi, everybody. The first day I was really kind of shook and just trying to have it all settle in my head, because I had this internal, just this weird dialogue in my head of, how could people I love and respect but they gave me this, and they, it was this kind of thing the whole time. I'm gonna get emotional.
It's fine. It's fine. It hit me hard. It's because the thing is, we've been living with this for 20 years.
Right. And it's part of us. For some of us, it's part of us. For me, it's my daily life, because if you know me, it's you know that my experience with Lost has been nothing but positive, because my Lost experience started coincidentally and ran simultaneously with me having cancer. So my experience and journey was literally along that whole 6-year time, and it became part of my life and remains an everyday part of my life. There's not a day that goes by that there's not something about Lost, or the people, or the friends, or even
It's okay. So here's the thing. You were
Jay and Jack. So I'm good. I'm gonna be okay, because I have to. I put myself back into what did we learn from Lost, and I have to have hope and belief that these people who have hurt other people, or what happened in the past, that I get whatever happened, but We hope that people learn from what's happened, that they can grow from what's happened, that they can be redeemed, become better people for it, because they do have a lot to offer, and that they can move on from it and grow. These are the lessons we learned through all of that. So I'm holding on to that hope of, if it was good enough for characters we watched, and then we all as viewers took some of those lessons in our own personal lives, well, then it's there. And I have to hold on to that hope that everybody will learn something from this, and that it gets better. And that, but no, as far as Lost and me, no, we're inseparable. And that's
I get it.
The way it is.
You were at Jay and Jack's finale event, right? At the
No, I was not.
Oh, you weren't.
I wasn't.
You weren't, because I was gonna say, like, it's okay to cry about Lost. Like, I'm a little teary-eyed right now, because in that theater, and Jay and Jack can confirm this, like, there was quiet moments in that episode where we heard, like, how many people were in there? At least like 6,000 or something, sniffling.
But even when we go to Michael's concerts, and the music is playing, and there's playing, you hear people sniffling and crying, and it's because it's just so moving. And it can only be that moving if it has captured you, if it has infiltrated you, and we're all part of that. And I love all you guys.
Before we get going to, let's say, Jay next, I want to introduce someone who's entered the stream, and she's written Lost books. She's a wonderful person, and all the way from Canada, it's Nikki Stafford. Oh no, guys, I hit my limit.
No, you didn't.
Okay, this is what I'm gonna do.
Put her in. She's more important.
Stick around though. I'm gonna see if there's a way I can pop multiple people in. Hold on. Let me do this real quick. Look at this layout. Like, you think there is room for other people.
There's a space right there.
There's two more spaces there. This makes
Jack,
no
you were
sense
right
to me.
about the limit.
Like, it, oh my gosh, this makes me so I want to kick myself out. So I might do that and just watch this. Is that even a possibility?
Whatever I say or whatever. Yeah, it's fine.
All right. Nikki, how you doing?
I'm great. I've just come from a baseball game, so I apologize that I'm a little bit late. My son was playing ball, and I raced home to try and get some of this.
Did he win?
I'm so happy to see some of these faces live, some of whom I've met, some of whom I've never met, but I know online. And Karen, you've already got me like teary-eyed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I agree.
I'm a little bit there.
Feel that way.
I don't want to make anybody cry. It just gets to me.
It's true. Yeah. It's true.
And I'm gonna do this because this is something Jay does on his live streams. And I really want to get Caleb back in here. Why would
I know.
What is this layout where they would have like clear two empty spaces?
It's a bandwidth thing.
To add people. I feel so awful right now. But I'm the one that kicked out Caleb. I'm gonna just post a bunch of these comments. I'm not very good at. I get anxious when I read out loud in public, but I just want to show you all the people who are here
in the comments, so you don't feel awful. We'll come right back.
But I mean, look at all of these people here to support.
It's love. It's all love.
James Hewlett, who I met through Dharmalars, we now do a show together. We have a new episode coming up tomorrow with someone else that I know through Dharma. Like, the community is so strong, and it's one of my favorite things about Lost is how strong the community is. And is as shitty as things could become with the show, if more stuff, hey, my sister's here, if the more stuff that that Stuart also there every Comic-Con, like I'm probably clicking the same people.
Oh, hey Stuart, how you doing, dude?
That's his hair. Okay. So many great faces.
Okay,
but the thing is, it's like like, if more shitty stuff comes down the pipeline, I don't think it'll fracture the fans. Because I literally, right before this, was like, I spent like the last week, as soon as I mentioned that I wanted to do this stream, I became anxious. I became scared. I was like, is it going to be a shouting match? Are people going to be mean? But it's literally as soon as I started clicking your faces, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm home. And it's like being in the church, but I don't know if I'm quite ready to move on yet.
Yeah.
I still want lost part of my life.
But are we really a family if we're not shouting at each other?
Right.
We're not all.
Exactly. Jay and Jack, hosts of probably the most popular fan podcast.
Once upon a time, one time
for Lost.
Back in the old days.
Colleen up there too. How did you take the news? How do you? I mean, I know it's been a while since you've done a Lost podcast with Jay and Jack, but I mean, this is a huge part of your life. Jay, you met your wife through Lost. You have 2 kids. Like that's crazy because of a TV show that you met through the TV show. And Jack got to meet me, which is terrific.
I know.
Jack loves me.
That was my bucket list.
Right.
I can die happy now.
Who's this guy that keeps bugging me?
Ralph, we're only together.
About my bad theories.
Ralph, we're only together because you slept on the floor that night.
I mean,
that's
earmuffs, I guess. Here's what happened. So at Comic-Con,
dedication.
I think I was splitting a bed with Jay.
Yeah, it was you and me were sharing a bed at Comic-Con.
Yeah, because that's Comic-Con. And we went out, hung out, had some drinks, watched Arrested Development on the laptop on the bed. I was just like, you know what? I think these two are getting along. I'm going to go sleep on the floor.
And then you got sick.
Because no one reciprocated being nice by throwing a blanket over me. Yeah, so I was like literally like fetal position. Woke up like with a cold. It was probably a con flu, but it's still
con.
It was
but
probably
I mean, this
snowing
is
in San Diego that year. So.
Yeah. It's such the show means so much to everybody. Lives would be completely different if it weren't for the show. How do you guys take the news?
Yeah. Well, I think I saw your post first, Ralph, about like it was the Getting Lost socials saying taking a break. I was like, oh, what happened? So then I went and read it immediately. And for me, I felt for the people that were affected, and the fact that this happened 15 years ago or however long ago or 20 years ago for some people, and having met and talked to them like Javi or Harold Perrineau or whatever, and
I really want to talk about Javi in a little bit. Well, I'll mention it now.
But go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry. I'm so excited. I really want to talk about Javi.
But like somebody like him who like all the times we met him, or even like when past when we left Lost, but he was always so welcoming and friendly to all the Lost fans, and it wasn't ever just like, just so you know, it really freaking sucks there or whatever. But always was very spent so much time and so like to me, like I really felt for those people that one had such a crappy traumatic experience and felt like they couldn't speak out for it. And I think even Mo said in the article towards the end, like she was also a fan as well. But the fact is that we do have this thing where we put creators or geniuses on a pedestal, and they're just infallible, and they can't. There's nothing. And I know Jack and I did. It's like Darlton's the best or whatever, Yeah. And it's this thing that happens a lot of times, and a lot of times when we put human beings on a pedestal, that doesn't work out so well in the long run. And so I'm thankful that Mo Ryan did this article, had the courage to do it, this book, and gave voices to these people to finally actually like speak their truth. And now that it's out there, us as fans can have that context and understand that while this art, this show we love has so much beauty to it, the creation behind it or some of these things that went into it was problematic or did have issues. And to me, I'd much rather kind of have the whole truth to have a full understanding of it all than to kind of be living in a bubble, not acknowledging some people's pain that they had as they went through it. So for me, that's what I was really grateful out of all of that, is that these people finally get to speak their truth. It's out there. And for those that, are being held to account here, finally have to answer for some of those things. I'm not saying that they need to never have an opportunity again, or they can't have forgiveness, or can't come back, because that's what the show's all about. But also, like, having to actually speak for the things that were brought up in the article. So that's what I felt after seeing it, reading it.
Oh, I want to mention Javi real quick. Now that I have him on the brain, because you guys started doing the Comic-Con panel every year at San Diego. I think season 3-ish.
It was 2006,
2007, 2006. I think was your first one.
Yeah, you're
was
right.
your first time at Comic-Con.
Yes,
and by the next year, 2007.
Yeah.
And Javier was he was no longer with the show.
Nope.
And I remember doing the panels. It seemed like almost every year, like halfway through the panel, the door would open up in the back and he would be there. He'd come in and sit down. A friend of mine reached out to Javi today. A friend of mine knows him, and sent him a link to this feed. And I mean, he's like, he's not in a good space right now. He doesn't have it's not a good time for him to join us, but he did leave a message. And I'm going to pass this message along, because I think it goes along with him showing up to those panels, even though his experience with the show and him not being part of the show anymore and him still showing up. He says he has one thing to say. Please keep loving the show. It's the only thing that redeems my experience of working on it. Right. And so it gets me now. I should have brought the Kleenex, but it gets me choked up. Like, none of this stuff happened to us. None of this happened to us. It happened to people, happened to real people that probably have no idea they might know who some of us are, but but we're connected through the show. And it's just, it hurts and it feels personal, but it's not. Yeah. But hearing Javi say that we're the ones that are making this better for him, and the fact that he showed up in 2007 after he was gone
several times, or he was in other panels that were around ours and stuff.
Just to be around us, allowed him to sort of hopefully heal back when this shit was actually happening. And it made me feel really good getting that message today. So to Javi, thank you for sending that.
No,
thank you for making, God, you got me going. I'm going to have to throw it to Jack. But
God,
thank you for making us feel like all of last Tuesday, I'm like, is that it? Am I going to have to throw away all my Lost stuff? Is my life with Lost over? And just that made me feel so good that it doesn't have to be. He wants us to keep enjoying it. Even though there was awful situations, he wants us to.
I just throw in or Remy's comment there, the Remy Perot, that's what I've been thinking too. Is how can we support those that were actually impacted by this, right? Because we weren't in a toxic thing. We weren't being, going through all this horrible crap that these people that worked on the show had to go through. Like what can we do to support them, right?
I think James says it well, where he says, support them, support the work that they continue to make.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Jack, I'm going to throw it to you. Okay. Just some basic thoughts.
Well, like most things in life, I was pretty clueless to what was going on that day. I'm in a Facebook private message with Caleb and some other, and they were talking. I had no idea what they were talking about. Then you invited me to be on this panel. I said, I assumed it was just about Lost. And my wife goes, "Did you read the article?" I go, "What article?" She goes, "You need to read the article." I go, and so when I read the article, I'm like, oh my, it was very disturbing because like a lot of people here, I've met Damon, I've met Carlton, I've met several of the actors on the show, and this show has changed my life. I mean, there was no way 20 years ago, Jay will tell you, I would have got on something like this. And talk. There's no way I would do something like this. But so it changed my life. It made me, like, I was on the island now. I'm not afraid to get up. That first panel we did, I was, in the bathroom the whole hour before. So when you see something like this, it's disturbing. And you just, like Jay said, you put them on a pedestal. They're so talented. And what they did was, like everyone's saying, they brought a world together. I mean, I have friends now all over the world, and it's because of Lost. I mean,
and enemies.
Well, just Jay, but I mean, you want to talk about working in a toxic environment, try podcasting with Jay. But seriously, it's something that was, like I said, the first day I was like, I can't believe this stuff is happening. I mean, like I said, I've had the pleasure of talking with Damon 5 or 6 times, and you just, obviously I wasn't in the writer's room at the time, but it's like, it shocked me. I mean, it's Hollywood, so it doesn't really, it's not surprising because Hollywood is, the egos are so tremendous and everything else, but it just, but I was like going, well, like everyone else, I go, I can't give up my friends. I mean, what am I supposed to say? Okay, well, right. I can't be friends with anyone anymore that likes Lost. I mean, I love Lost. I've done several rewatches of Lost, and so again, it's disturbing. It's sad that it happened, but I can't change my friendship with everyone except maybe Joe. But I don't know. Like I said, it's disturbing. And I mean, I don't know if Damon walked in, would I say, you idiot? I mean, it just, because he was always so kind and always so generous with his time. Right. And it's just like, God, but maybe, I don't know. Like Jay said, they all deserve a second chance, and
it's one of those things too, where it has been 13 years since the show went off the air. Yeah. These allegations take place. Some in season 1, mostly in season 2. It sounded like that's when things kind of made an extra bad turn. And it's tough because this is just hitting us now.
And what Damon did with Watchmen, when he showed the Oklahoma, was it Oklahoma? Tulsa. I had, to be honest with you, I'd never heard anything about it because it wasn't taught in school. So I just never. So I was like going, did this really happen? Yeah. And then you look it up, go, oh my God! So you see what he did, and
it's one of those things where the cynical side of me, and I saw some comments online, is, did he just do Watchmen because he knew that this was coming? And I don't know.
Yeah, but Ralph, is that such a, I don't mean to interrupt, but is that such a bad thing to see that he learned from what he experienced? Right. And now, because we're finding out so much later, we get to see not only the inception of the bad acts, but the subsequent learning from it, and then pushing himself to not only help people do something on camera, but off camera, because he then went to do a lot to help a lot of different people's careers. It doesn't erase what happened, right? But it does add another layer to it, and it kind of is like Lost, where we get to see the flashback, and then what happened after, right? So it's kind of, I find that the Damon of it all is what I think we might all find kind of most compelling.
Colleen's got a.
I think Natasha's going to say what I'm going to say, but I wouldn't.
Go ahead.
I wouldn't put Watchmen on a pedestal because there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes rumors that he and Regina King did not get along, and he wanted to make some of the Black characters fade more into the background, and she put her foot down. And I've read that when I was doing my research for this thing. Again, it's not sourced and blah, blah, blah.
I know. Yeah, I don't know anything. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
I don't know if we want to go down the, but he did Watchmen route, because there's not a lot of
Well, I'm
you know,
saying
there's a lot of mixed chatter on Watchmen, but I get what you're saying, Jack, because I learned about the Tulsa.
Yeah,
race
that's what I'm saying.
well.
That was and of course Regina King is if you're bashing Regina King, then we can't be friends. So
No.
because she's just a
Not at all.
fantastic actress. So I don't know. It's just
But
crazy.
we hope that there's progress in behavioral change. Is the,
Yes.
Oh,
is the
yes.
goal
And
here.
Definitely.
Natasha, I'm sorry. What were you going to say if
Yeah.
that wasn't what you were going to say?
But actually, so I did not actually hear that, because I remember when Regina
Okay.
King was talking about, well, from some interviews, she was saying that there was some like back and forth going on, but like ultimately it seemed as though Damon was very supportive and also
Okay, cool.
did work like it, but it was after discussion. But he was just like, okay, I'm going to be reflective and I'm going to actually do more work to put some people to the forefront. And then he started becoming like publicly like a champion for diversifying his writers' rooms and like promoting diverse voices. But it's like I will say it seemed like it was probably a longer road for him.
Yeah.
But I think he did get there. And the fact that he shows a level of empathy and the way that he even apologizes in public, to me, it seems very sincere, and that I can see a person evolving. And just like, I'm just hoping that he stays on that trajectory. So I'm like, I'm okay with Damon for now, but can we cuss?
Yes.
Yeah,
do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, but it's always
Joe
gonna
did
be,
it first.
Oh. Yeah, it's definitely gonna be Fuck Carlton, but that's it.
Seriously,
Yeah.
fuck Carlton.
And so bouncing off of that, with Damon trying, let's say I believe Damon's trying to be better, and it kind of comes across in the book because in the chapter,
Hey,
Mo makes it very clear that Damon sat down for 2 interviews with her, knowing full well what the interviews were about. Carlton went through PR and just sent email responses.
I was
That doesn't
really
sound like
disappointed
someone-
in that.
I have a story. So here's what's going to happen. When we're done here and I excuse everybody, I have some final thoughts that I'm going to bring up. And Caleb, if you
I'll
want...
drop out so Caleb can come back in. Let's get Caleb back in here.
Okay. You want to do? You sure? Because
Yeah.
I was going to say, if Caleb waves, I can just
No,
bring him in.
bring Caleb in. I think Nikki was wanting to say something too off of Natasha.
Yeah, I saw
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Well, I'll get rid of Jay.
I was going to say, I'm glad that Natasha said what she said, because I think we read the same article, and that is the one that I had seen. It was maybe a year ago. So it's been a while since I read it, but it was in Vanity Fair, oddly enough. And it was a profile of Regina King. And she talked about working with Damon Lindelof on Watchmen and The Leftovers, and said that the reason that she came to work with him twice was because of that openness. And as Natasha was saying, that there was that issue that came up, but she said he listened, and that is something that she really appreciates. She seems to be quite glowing about him in the article, and I take Regina King's word above just about anybody else's word. And not that anyone else is lying. I really, as soon as I read this piece, like, I was so thrilled that she was the cover story of Vanity Fair, like however long ago it was. But then when she actually talks about him at length, I remember being so taken with that and thinking, this is great to know. And then when the Mo Ryan piece came out, that was my first thought was, but Regina said, and so there was that sort of feeling about it. And of course, it can be 2 different stories. And as many have said, a person can evolve.
Yeah.
And
Right.
while I'm certainly not on the inside of it, and therefore, and I said this on my Facebook page, as I'm not an insider, I am not making any comments. I don't know. And that's for the insiders to do. What I will say is the sense I got from the Mo Ryan chapter, which I got the book just yesterday, is that that perhaps Damon was younger, new, and yeah, he was in his 30s, you know,
Right.
but he was a noob to actually like being a showrunner on a massive network show. And is it possible that he was being influenced by the other person that, you know, he was with? And the moment he's separated from that person, perhaps he realizes what he had done, you know, like people, I don't know if it was a mob mentality. I don't know what it was. I can't say, and I won't say, because I'm not going to speculate on something I was not involved in. But the pain that those writers expressed was real. And that was heartbreaking to me, and those stories were awful, and it made me very sad. But as Karen was saying, just as I was sort of coming into into this conversation, the immediate reaction that I saw from fans was like, but I still love Lost. Like it was that, but feeling, because for the very reasons we're saying, how many people do I know because of Lost? How many connections have I made because of Lost? It's a show that transcended the show itself, because the fandom became an animal that was separate from the show and yet part of it, very much part of it. Yeah. And I don't think any of us wants to give up on Lost. We just love everything about it too much. And we're heartbroken that these things have happened. And like, was just said, we can do things now to do that, to try to support those people who were harmed by this. And the very calling out of this behavior is so important, because you can't tell me that on, I don't know, Mary Tyler Moore Show or All in the Family, those were probably horrible writers' rooms. If there was a woman, it was like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, where she was just shouted down the whole time and no one talked, because there probably was no woman in that. But if there was, it was probably not a great place to be. But no one said anything. And now that people are saying things, maybe 10 years from now, these stories will have diminished so much that this will just be so unacceptable. And I would love for there to be a world where it's so unacceptable. And of course, that's probably very optimistic. But we're getting there. This isn't Mrs. Maisel anymore. This is moving forward, where that kind of behavior is shamed and shameful. And we'd like to see some changes. And as was just said there, I can't remember if it was Colleen who said it, Damon comes off very differently in his apologies and in his what seems to be devastation in the face of it, and the fact he did face it. And when Mo Ryan then says, yeah, but you were in your 30s, like you weren't a child. And he met that head on too and said, absolutely. And I appreciated that. And I had a lot more respect for someone who was willing to come to the table, face it, be called out for what he did and said, and say, I will do better. And what more can we ask, really? Like, we can't go back to the past and change it. This isn't Lost. But going forward, let's hope that things get better. So
I think that's a really great point, Nikki. I know that, the climate has changed over the last, decade or so, even the last 5 years, and things like it's so shitty that it happened, but it's even shittier that those people felt like they were, like there's PTSD, like, they were actively traumatized through work, and they didn't have like even an HR department that they felt safe to go to be like, this is what's happening. And
they still don't feel safe. There's people in the book. But
I hope that
they're still afraid.
I hope that this opens more of a floodgates that makes more people feel safe to even anonymously come forward in the future. And maybe, a decade from now, it's, what I'm trying to get at here? Corruption and all that, that thrives when nobody's there to call it out and bring it to the light. So I hope that this is just another step in progress moving forward. But, what do I know?
Yeah. Right. It's also interesting that this happens while the writer's strike is going on. Where people are a bit more empathetic towards, I mean, and it's no excuse at all, but having been in the industry and worked on a lot of stuff from TV, commercial, and film, it's not a life, people. Like you're working, you think you're a star, you're working 18, 20 hours a day. And even you hear these stories now, people in these writers' rooms on a big show end up making like $10 an hour. I think the arts in general, and film and television in particular, because it's so difficult and time consuming, you're recreating reality. It pushes people towards behavior like this. And I think when it's unchecked, the hours, the expectations, it can create monsters like that, right? Like people who think it's okay to blow off steam by taking other people down who are lower than them. Because why? Because they feel that's what the studio, the environment, the other people are doing to them. And that doesn't make it right at all, because there's a lot of people who choose not to do that. And there's better ways to have and make these shows that don't result in people in environments like this being normalized. Because it's like you were saying before, Nikki, I think like, you know, back in the 60s or whatever, they would even let people into, you didn't have any women writers. You'd have it was just like all white dudes who went to Harvard or something, or who knew somebody from radio day. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's something that's brought up in the, I don't think it's brought up in the excerpt in Vanity Fair, but it's definitely part of the chapter in the book. Is the amount of people of color or women in writers' rooms and just in general. There's a breakdown on when like the first show that had a woman of color was the lead in a positive light. There's all kinds of the chapter. I'm not much of a reader, but I read the chapter. It took me a couple of sittings because, guys, I'm such a poor reader. But I ended up continuing on after the chapter about Lost, because there's more stuff like that. And Mo gets into this stuff. Like this is, you know, it's in the book. It's old Hollywood.
It's endemic, man. It's endemic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. That's why the Burn It Down. She's talking about, you know what I'm saying? Like burn Hollywood, burn.
Absolutely, it's time to start over.
You mean like a clean slate, like a tabula rasa? Let's. I'm gonna bring. Let's bring.
I'll drop out, man. I've had a lot to say already.
I can also drop out because I've got a 9-year-old that needs to go to bed that is peeking at me right now.
Jason,
I know that feeling.
Colleen, just yell at Jay to do it, because he's clearly not here. He's gone. He left. He bounced. He actually removed himself from the stream and then is completely gone. So if you wanna yell at him, but I mean, you can leave if you want. I'm not keeping him hostage.
At the very least, I might have to turn my camera off for a few minutes.
Okay. Natasha, let's talk to you. I see you every single year at San Diego Comic-Con. And it brings me so much joy that the Lost community is still sticking around. The numbers might not be as great as they once were, but just the tried and true Lost fans. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, so it was really disappointing because you know, I was texting with you guys earlier and I was like, this was such a show with such a diverse ensemble cast that goes into like the richness of these backstories and the characters' lives. And, you know, I was just like, you would think that there was so much thought put into just the show in general that things happening in the background were also, you know, like culturally competent and empathetic and thoughtful. And then to find out that there was such a toxic, vile, and racist culture, I was like, get the heck out of here. My heart actually broke. I'm not even going to lie to you, because like, if it wasn't for you guys, especially like Jay and Jack and Colleen, just listening to the Lost podcast, that was the only reason why I even joined Twitter back in like 2009. Because they're like, yeah, join Twitter and we'll tell you how to get to Comic-Con and show you how to pack your bag. So that was like also the first time that I even went to, because I'm from New York. So that was the first time I even went to the West Coast, and like all of that, literally just for Lost. And like, you guys are now my family. I see you guys every single summer and I look forward to it. But yeah, hearing this news, it really broke my heart, because I mean, I know a lot of people like, oh, never put like celebrities on a pedestal or whatever. But like, honestly, I remember just consuming every bit of media that I could about Damon and Carlton. And, you know, in my head, it was almost like a parasocial relationship. Like I felt like, you know, we were all family at this point. And so to hear this type of toxicity coming out of it, especially the stuff from Carlton, it really hurt, because I would have never expected that. And just so as a person that admired this person from a distance, to hear that that's how they really felt behind the scenes, it was just like, then what was this all for? Like, but I will say my relationship with the show is not going to change, because I love the show because of, one, the Lost fans, two, the story itself is so rich, and there were so many talented people in that writer's room. And you know, not everybody was a jerk, I guess, because there was a lot of people that were hurt, but they were at least able to give us their amazing art before they left that show. And that's what I really want to celebrate with Lost. And I mean, the story in itself is going to live on long after they're gone.
Yeah. And there might be people who aren't Lost fans who become Lost fans and don't know anything about the book or the excerpt on Vanity Fair.
I'm still recruiting. I'm still recruiting people to watch.
And that's great. James Hewlett mentioned earlier, I don't have that quote up, but James mentioned earlier that he's watching it with his better half for her first time. And he said that he hasn't told her about this. And I mean, how you want someone to be able to enjoy the show the way that we did. And I feel like as Lost fans, like we'll never get that. I think no matter, like, I can be like, 80 years old and I'll still remember last Tuesday. And I really wish I could shake it. And as much as I want to praise everybody who is a good person, I know good people that worked on the show. As much as I want to, and just like be able to enjoy it from there, it's always going to be in the back of my mind, and that's it's a bummer. But I really ultimately feel bad for those involved, and it's tough because now when you watch the show, yeah, we're all mad at Damon and Carlton, but when you see the episode, whoever wrote that specific episode, were they part of the problem?
Exactly.
I'm not gonna name names, but there's a lot of Lost writers out there, and now I'm like, which side are they on? And it sounds like a lot of them were on the wrong side.
Right. And I mean, you're absolutely right, Ralph. And it's like, I wonder if, because I saw the response, and I think people in the chat were actually touching on this too. We saw the response from Damon, and then we also saw the PR
non-response.
Right. From Carlton. And you could see that there was an evolution, that there was like a thought of like, okay, maybe this wasn't good back in the day, but I'm going to do better in the future. And so it's like, I haven't actually followed careers of individual writers through the years, but you just like hope that in the future things will be better. Because, I think many people have worked in places where, you had a team that was amazing, and then a team where the work culture sucked, where you had a boss that was not a very good one, or or the power imbalance made it hard for you to speak out. So I wonder how much of that also played a part in the complicit nature of the ones who just like went along with the terrible quote unquote jokes.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to tell a story now.
Okay.
We'll get to a couple of the other in a bit. Just because there's something that I want to talk about now. A couple months ago, I went to an event in Los Angeles, and it was an improv show, which was being Taylor, I think knows the story.
What's the matter?
There's an improv show that Michael Giacchino was he was the moderator for. Like they asked him on as a guest for this improv show. He went and told stories about anything that the crowd mentioned, and then they'd do skits or improv sketches around Michael's stories. So it was pouring rain, and I'm outside in line under the marquee, undercover. And I see Carlton. Walking in the rain. And I make eye contact with him. And I say, "Oh, you must be here for Michael." And I opened up the rope and let him in out from the rain. And I put the rope back. And I turned around and said, "It's nice to meet you. I'm Ralph." and he turned away and completely ignored me.
Totally dead to me.
And it's one of those things where I'm just like I don't care if you think you're more special than me, but if someone were to literally let me out of the rain, I would at least acknowledge it, say thank you.
Yeah.
Do anything. But I literally said, "Oh, it's nice to meet you. I'm Ralph," and he just turned away.
All right, Carlton is officially in J.K. Rowling territory for me. That's it.
So, and I don't.
There's no redemption.
And Taylor and I have talked about this because we're for the last year and a half we've been trying to make a documentary about Lost, and this puts a big sort of wrinkle in what we have going on. And I'll bring Taylor up here. It's one of those things where, and I'm going to be honest and a little candid about the thing, was boy, oh boy, imagine if we get Damon and Carlton. That's going to be great. And we've definitely been in contact, and it just, the scheduling hasn't worked out. And as of Tuesday, we're kind of like, do we want the scheduling to work out? It's really, really rough. Taylor, I mean, I know what it is, but if you want to give us your insight on how you felt last Tuesday, how you feel today, because it's something that we've kind of been going through together. We've spent the last year and a half focused on Lost and this documentary, and it went from the point where last Monday our social media bio said a documentary celebrating the hit TV show Lost, to Tuesday a documentary what did I change? I changed celebrate to covering or something, covering the hit TV show Lost, because celebrate sounded really bad. It sounded, is this something we still want to celebrate? What are your, if you want to talk about your thoughts on it, I know you were kind of not really keen on being on the stream because it might have been felt a little too soon. But ultimately you're like, you know what, I'm going to do it. You want to give some thoughts on where you're at personally and professionally with the documentary and with Lost?
Sure. First of all, thanks for putting this together, because like you, just seeing all these faces and hearing all these voices helps. Like, it's not a fun time to be a Lost fan. It's even less fun of a time to be making a movie about Lost, because I'm not that kind of documentarian. A lot of people are great. We need hard-hitting investigative journalism, and that's fantastic. I'm like pop culture. Remember Blockbuster Video? Remember ska music? Remember Lost? We all love these things. Isn't that fun? And then that's fun. It's fun to make. It's fun to watch. It's fun to live with for a few years. But
it's been a joy. It's been a blast.
And that's the thing. Until last Tuesday, this has been one of the most fun projects, working with you and meeting all of these people and talking about Lost. We've been talking about Lost with people for the past 8 months straight, and then I come home and I watch the footage of us talking about Lost with people, and it brought a lot of joy. And it was like, this is going to be great. We're going to remind people why they love this thing. And that's what I want to do in the world, is help people remember the good things. And now I don't even know how much.
But you need to do that.
That's not gone.
That's one of the things we discussed too.
You and where it's settled in you right now, it's taken
100%, and it's way too soon to even propose what this movie is going to turn into now, or what I'm going to feel about this show a year from now. But the gut feeling last Tuesday, I was like, I quit. We're done. There's no movie. It's over. I called Ralph and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I quit. You talked me down.
I felt like since day one, I've been trying to make sure that everybody in the world knows that we're the guys you want to make this documentary. We're the fans. Anytime someone comes up, and I saw it in the comments earlier, I think it was Lost Fan 67 is in the house, said you guys need to get Evangeline and Matthew Fox. And we're like, we understand that. You guys need to get Nikki and Paolo. We really want to get them. We want to get, like, we want everything the fans want. And I feel like we kind of wanted to become this sort of the champions of Lost after all these years, to give the fans everything. We wanted to be that voice. And I feel like, and I told this to Taylor, I said, we still need to be that voice. And it's, you know, like this live stream I set up sort of last minute. And I was just like, this is something we need as Lost fans. The Lost community is so strong. We need to be together. Live together, die alone.
That's the thing, right?
It's the thing. And it's like, it totally sucks. You know, we have so much footage of people just being so happy.
But how beautiful of it is this, that even with everything that's happened, and it needs to be addressed. Okay.
It is. Yeah. And it will be.
And it will be. But how amazing and awesome of it, so that it actually just transcends still that dark cloud for a moment, but we're still all coming together worldwide for all the same things we all fell in love with to begin with. It's not going anywhere. We're all still here loving each other, loving Lost, loving everything it gave us in our own individual journeys. And those things are what we celebrate, are what we remember, are what we continue on in our lives. That's why we want to share the story with everybody else, because it's like a rite of passage. Okay, we've done this. Now we want to share it with you. And it's too beautiful of a story. And what it's brought to the world globally, even though we have this cloud right now.
Yeah. And like in the show, there's clouds over all kinds of characters. And a lot of characters didn't see eye to eye, like the whole series run. But there's something about the finale, which I'm assuming everyone here loves the finale. I don't really want to get into the finale much, but everyone in that church is together. No bickering, no knives.
And
yes,
it's all
and I know it's only been a week, but I have this hope that we're going to get there as Lost fans, and whatever clouds continue to form surrounding this story, because I'm assuming more people are going to come out of the woodwork. I'm hoping that we can all just like really get in there and stick together.
Well, you can, as long as you believe that, and you know that that's what we're all about, and what your project is about, and that original thought process of what excited you about it. It's still there. It's just we all are dealing with this bubble. But I refuse. I don't have hate in my heart. I don't. And I like I said before, we've talked about giving it a moment to, all right, let's settle on it. Let's figure it out. But the goal here is, if every human is flawed, we have to hope people are learning and are going to grow. But in that growth, we have all this.
Mm-hmm. And if I can,
I've been crying more than Carrie. Sorry, Nikki, go ahead.
I didn't want to interrupt Taylor and Ralph because obviously this is your moment here. But what I wanted to say is, when Taylor first approached me and started explaining what the documentary was about, and then we talked on the phone, it wasn't about, and you remember the time when, and you remember this episode, it wasn't that at all. It was about fandom and the love of the show and a celebration of fandom. And I thought that's what the whole documentary was about. It's all about the fans. It's not about, like this. And it still very much is. You can tell from the social media posts. You can tell from the people that you've gotten involved. And watch every word of what everyone is saying right here, and every comment that was all over my Facebook page last week when we were all melting down over, we actually weren't melting down over it. We kept saying, but I still love you and you and you. Like, it was that kind of thing. The fandom didn't go away. I think the documentary is alive and well because this moment,
we need it more than ever.
How much we're willing to stick together and fight through something.
And we need it more than ever.
It created us and it created all of us. And I think that's the focus of the documentary. And that is more important now than ever. How do we overcome all of this? How do people still come together? I feel like a veteran of all of this because I'm still digging my way out of the trenches of the Joss Whedon Buffy thing. I devoted so much of my career to writing about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then all that happened. And so I've already been dealing with this for years. I've watched academic groups have to rename it. We have spent hours and hours and hours trying to come up with not calling it the Whedon Association anymore. Like it was just such a follow. This doesn't feel like it's, like that. What happened was horrible. To find out these people that we looked up to. And as I think I was talking to you, Ralph, when we were messaging, and I said, I just wish I hadn't said Damon and Carlton so much when you guys were interviewing me, that I had said the writers, because I did say the writers. We all know
the same thing. I had a conversation with Joe, and Joe was like, he's like, oh, I talked about Damon and Carlton in such a good light. And I was like, I know, and that's great. And I'm hoping for like our scissor reel that we have Joe talking them up so they come and do the movie. And now it's like, I don't know if it's what do you do? What do you do about that? They are the showrunners. They are the face of the show. They were the first like official podcast was pretty much produced by ABC was Damon and Carlton's face.
Right.
And
that's the thing I think, when I said I want to throw my hands up and quit and I don't know what this movie is and all that, is because the gut reaction is, oh, well, we've spent months and all kinds of money and all this time interviewing all these people. And the first thing I want to do is like, oh, we got to talk to Nikki again and let her talk about this. We got to talk to Joe again because everything's different. Because we didn't know what questions to ask. Right. So we've sat down with people that are hard to sit down with, people are hard to get. And we've shot hours and hours and hours of footage that is, for all intents and purposes, useless footage. There's moments we can still use, but part of it is like, man, fuck. We just wasted all this time.
Every moment. Every moment of the series that I raved about when I was talking to you guys, and everything I said about the fans, all that still stands.
Still true. All the stuff about the fans is true. But then the follow-up question, the follow-up question about the fandom is about this moment right now. Mm-hmm. And we have no footage about that because this just happened.
Right.
So I have a quick question for you, Taylor, and Ralph as well. So when you were interviewing folks that had, behind the scenes knowledge of the show, now that all this stuff came out, because I know that you guys definitely got a lot of, glowing praise for the show from these people. Do you feel as though anyone was being disingenuous when they were answering your questions?
I don't feel like it.
I think that some people that we talked to were very, very aware of what they were saying when the camera was rolling. And they didn't always say the same things when the cameras weren't rolling. And, it was never anything like what's in the article. It was always like, these little offhand, like, there's a reason I didn't say this on camera. And it's like, well, that's fine. And it was never anything that I felt it would be irresponsible to omit until now. So like, we all know as Lost fans, shitty things that happened in the making of Lost. This isn't brand new information. It's way worse. But I don't think anybody was being false on camera, but I think they were being very careful. Some people about, and some people who work in Hollywood, they're trained for media, right? They know camera's on. I look here and I say the thing that I'm supposed to say, and then we're done.
Mm-hmm.
So
They want to keep
maybe by
working.
omission, but not
Right. Like,
Yeah.
not intentionally disingenuous, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things also where I want to say every single interview that we've done, once we got everything that we needed from the shoot and the cameras turned off, everyone still wanted to talk about the show.
Yeah.
Bobby Moynihan had a hard out for his interview. He had to go do a charity event as soon as, like, he had to be out by like 4:30 in the afternoon. I'm sitting there looking at the clock the whole time that Taylor was interviewing him, and it's like, Taylor, you got like 5 minutes. Taylor, you got like 3 minutes. And then after the cameras were done rolling, Bobby didn't leave till like 4:45 because he wanted to show us pictures of his honeymoon in Oahu in a Dharma jumpsuit, and he bought the fish biscuit machine.
That's awesome.
That's way too
That's
tall,
so cool.
and he just wanted to show us all this stuff because Lost brought us together, and it's infectious, and once you start talking about it, you don't want to stop. I just want to thank my wife for bringing in some tissue for me, because again, like, it's so funny, this documentary, there's a moment in the documentary where we were interviewing somebody and they had not seen the new man in charge, didn't know it existed. Huge Lost fan. We got to watch them watch brand new Lost 13 years later for the first time. And the reason why we brought up the new man in charge is because some of the questions that they were asking about unanswered questions in the show were brought up in that 12-minute epilogue. And this might be the first time Taylor saw me just completely break down crying, because I'm just sitting there behind the cameras listening to the new man in charge, and just like, it just hit me. I love these characters. They're my family. The reunion with Walt and Hurley in the van with Ben, I just was like just bawling. I just had like tears running down my face in front of a stranger, kind of. And then Steve, one of our camera operators, and Taylor. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't. There's nothing I could do to stop this from happening. And it also happens at Michael's concerts. The last time I went to a Lost concert, I forgot to bring Kleenex. And I asked around to all of the people I was with. It was a big group of us that went to this thing, and they're like, "Do you really need Kleenex for this music?" I'm like, "Guys, listen, please don't watch me watching this concert." And I got like a square of like toilet paper, and I'm like, I gotta make it last. It's not gonna last. It's so heartbreaking, because we talked to Michael Giacchino, who, by the way, lovely dude, gave us over an hour and, let's say, an hour and 8 minutes of unpublished, fully orchestrated music that he recorded in 2009 while Lost was happening for the documentary for free.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And Michael is one of these guys. He's
That's
just
awesome.
a sweetheart of a person. He's a sweetheart of a person. He's amazing. Found out with the rest of us this week, because the way Michael worked, he was either in his office writing music, or in the studio recording it. He was a one-man show. They never gave him any notes. They're just like, here's the edited episode. He would go score it as he was watching the episode, go record it, and then return the audio to him.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the few interviews. That's one of the few interviews I wouldn't redo, because he wasn't there for any of this. Like, the only additional question would be, how do you feel about this?
Yeah.
And we're gonna have enough people saying this sucks. We don't need to cut to him. So
Yeah, the thing that bums me out,
good.
and the thing that bums me out, I'm not going to speak for Michael. The thing that bums me out is I have that concert that I was talking about was recorded for an album. And it's great because I was at that. I've never been at a concert where they recorded the album and they put it on this beautiful vinyl. Mondo put out this beautiful 3-disc vinyl of that concert. And Jorge was in town. He was in Ireland. Jorge was in town. I was with Jorge, and Jorge did some readings, and he heard it on the record. But who else was in town was Carlton, and Carlton also did readings on the record. And it's like, if you can get the soundtrack on iTunes, you could get this live concert on iTunes. It's available, and you can probably delete those tracks out of there. But they're on that record. They're on that wax. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
We have that vinyl set in our auction next year. Just FYI, we have one of the rare sold out.
I'll try to win it.
It's a beautiful set.
It's a beautiful set.
I always try.
I know. I want to, as you all know, I am a positive person, and this has been brutal for me. I had what I call a friendly professional relationship with Damon and Carlton for the last 13 years since Cancer Gets Lost started. So I'm also very close friends with Mo Ryan, who wrote this book that the chapter is in. And by the way, I have an extra copy. So if anyone who is on the feed is interested and would like it, it has a United States address, please just tweet me and I'll pull your name from a hat. I will gladly give you my extra copy. Mo sent me a copy and I read it. Just the last chapter so far because my heart can't take any more right now. I'm very good friends with Javier Grillo-Marxuach. Javier, I was just at Mo's house last year. I go to Javi's every time I'm in LA. It's just I have a lot of I'm very close to a lot of people because of Cancer Gets Lost, and I was much friendlier with Damon, if truth be told, in terms of when every 3 years, I would literally get in touch with his assistant and say, I'm going to be in town. He'll say, bring a truck or bring a suitcase. I have a storage closet over here with items he has donated since 2010. It's very hard for me. I'm so glad it brings joy to other people because this auction is next year. For those who missed it, 2024 is a lost auction for us. We're probably going to launch it on September 22nd, 2024, when the show aired. This should bring joy to people, right? This is what we have. I have items like this. This is a season 1 box set of cards signed by J.J. Abrams, Damon, and Carlton. Okay. I have had this in my personal collection and I'm putting it in the auction next year. Michael Emerson just sent me this personal script. You guys, this is the season 3 opener, A Tale of Two Cities, Juliet's introductory script. And it is his watermarked copy.
Caleb.
I'm just saying. I did think of you, Caleb.
Sold.
As someone who loves Juliet, not as much as you, admittedly. I knew that would be interesting to you, but these are the things. This has been a very healing conversation for me because I have had a very hard time. And
I would bid money on watching you and Caleb arm wrestle over who's a bigger
Fair. Although Caleb
it does say something that
I gotta go with
it does say I was gonna say it does say something that the first mention of Juliet am talking now. So
yes. Yeah.
P.S. Your hair game, best hair tonight, Caleb. I have to say.
Oh, thank you.
Agree.
Jack is a close second.
Always.
I'm there too,
dude.
I used to
no place to put.
I'm going to stop talking about it. I just want to say thank you to every single person, not only on the screen, but in the comments, because Cancer Gets Lost exists because of the fans. That's not stopped. Sure, we've moved on from Lost to have a million other shows in our auctions. That is also because of you. It is also because of the kind humans who worked on the show who continue to donate items from their new shows. So this community, this fandom is so strong, and I believe in it. It is a constructive, kind, healing place. This is the place that brought us together. So I just know that you have my deep gratitude because you've changed people's lives who've had cancer by being a part of this fandom. Karen, Mauro, I mean, you can speak to this. Everyone can. You are everyone. It's a game changer.
Yes.
I have to tell you
100%.
yeah, I mean, I have to tell you the last thing that Damon Lindelof said to me the last time I saw him, and this was a while ago because it was when he was filming and writing Watchmen. This is the last time I was in his office to get items signed for auction. He said, Cancer Gets Lost is the best way to honor the legacy of the show. And I have been second guessing everything Damon and Carlton have ever said to me. I would like to believe that what Damon said is true, regardless of what he said 15 years ago. And that's what I struggle with, right? Like, I believe that he was being genuine when he said it. But I'm just really thankful that Cancer Gets Lost, because that brings joy to me and it brings joy to people, but it also makes a difference. So I'd like to think that he was right.
He is. Yeah. And Joe, you know, we're lucky in that you've had a relationship with a few of them directly involved because you have Cancer Gets Lost, and I've become friendly, and the writers there have been extremely kind personally to me, generous to me, giving to me, and that is something I cannot forget. That is part of, if I didn't have that, not just my community here with all of you, the story of Lost, the writers, the kindness of them, everybody on Team Lost, everybody, you know, the writers, the staff, the crew, everybody, if all of that wasn't part of my life and cancer wasn't part of my life, I would not be sitting here in front of you right now. Yeah. Because it was all part of my journey to lead me to right now. But I'm thankful that that I've had some lovely interaction, personal interaction, and they all have been very kind to me. And I'm grateful for that. And that's never going to change. And Joe, I do have to believe in the sincerity of what you're doing, what Damon says. This is the real parts of life that are important. And again, you have been in contact with him for years. And I again, hope to believe that flawed people get better and can hopefully improve. And they are kind. I know Damon's been kind to me. And
the thing is, I have all these items, you know, I literally have 300 items in the auction already for next year. And, you know, I have items from Damon and Carlton, but also from everyone else. A lot of them are signed by those people. Those items are going to bring great joy to people irregardless of what we've learned. And there are also people out there who are going to bid who have no idea about it. I'm just happy to have something to give positivity back to this fandom, whether it's right now or a year from now. And that is going to be ongoing. So I feel like I was put on this earth to do exactly this. I have two things tattooed on my arm. I have Choose Kindness, and also I have a Lost tattoo. So those two go together and always have been. This is the most incredible kind fandom on the planet. Amen. I'm going to stop talking now.
Yeah, but who knows what more great things will come from this. There's still this is not an ending to something. Okay? Right. It's a thing that happened, but you know, there's always a new beginning to come. Okay? It's just the way it is. The word execute on our little keyboard in the hatch, the word execute means end, but it also means to begin. Restart. So it's to start. Okay. So there's no end to the wonderful beauty that this still has. It's just, it's there. We just have to get over this hurdle, but we have to do it together because nobody does it alone.
Right.
Ooh, Natasha, you're muted.
Natasha.
Yeah. Well, I did have a comment, because it's like, you know, as we were just talking about the show and talking about this beautiful fandom, it got me thinking, because I remember one of my earliest experience with other Losties was actually being in line at Comic-Con, waiting for that Lost panel, and Joe was going around asking us trivia questions. And the fact that everyone knew every single, like, all those questions got answered that day. And I would say, like, every single Lost fan We know the episodes by the name of the episode. Who can do that other than Lost fans? And that also goes back to how amazing those writers were at the fact that we know the show by each episode's name. I've never done that before with any other show. And so it just makes me think, like, if these people can create that type of magic, I mean, I want to be able to still celebrate the art, because it just brought something so special to just like me in my life. Like, you guys are my family. And it's really through the show, because the show has been long gone. We've moved on to other shows, but it's like that feeling of just like uncovering these mysteries, of building this fandom, building these relationships. I think that's probably the most important experience for me for Lost. Even though the writers created something very special, I almost don't want to know who said what. I know that we got a couple of names in that article or in the book, but it's like, I almost don't want to know, because I don't want any more of it to be tarnished. I just want to celebrate the good stuff that I have now.
Yeah, I agree. I did have a question, Taylor. So I understand, you know, this has been it's been rough, and you wanted to quit and everything, and I know the healing of this takes a minute. Believe me, we all have to take a beat. But how do you feel today? Do you have a little bit more hope? Do you feel a little bit more confident?
Yeah.
Do you feel lost still?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think seeing all of you and hearing all of your wonderful thoughts about the show does give me hope and puts things back into the perspective of, this was always about the fan community. This was always about, you know, I wouldn't have met any of you without Lost. And I don't think anybody here would have met anybody else here without Lost. And that's valuable. And, you know, some bad things some people did 18 years ago doesn't take away from the good things that came after. My big dilemma with the documentary, and this has been expressed by people we've approached to be in it, is I love Lost. I've loved Lost for almost 20 years. And I want to celebrate Lost, and I want to make something that is positive. And there's this moral ambiguity of, like, is it okay to elevate a thing? Like, it's okay to still like the thing. I think we all agree it's okay to still watch Lost and enjoy Lost. But making a documentary about it, putting it out into the world, and having the thesis of that be, look how great this show is a different thing.
But it was a great show.
It is a great show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However,
And bad
part
things.
of the problem from the beginning that comes up in the article is we put these people on a pedestal, and that's on us. You know,
Yeah.
True,
They
but
make art. They're not gods. They just make art.
But that goes for everything too. And I think that you know, that's a totally separate problem, you know, that culture in general needs to deal with. But like, I think that, you know, we can still be fans. We just need to listen when people say that there is inherently an issue, and, you know, acknowledge the problems. It's not a footnote. It's more than a footnote, but, you know, it's still like, I love Lost, but I acknowledge that there was a lot of toxicity, and
because there's bad things in the world. And if we only settle on the bad things, we'll never get past that to celebrate the good. And then we'll always be stuck in this cycle of just being in this, it's just everything is bad. And I understand that, but we have to be able to find the light in things.
And this is sad, but Lost is not the only show that has this issue.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
I hear the Sleepy Hollow chapter is real bad.
I'm probably the oldest one here. I'm probably the oldest one here. You know, I watch shows from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. If you watch, and I still watch those shows, and you go, okay, a white person is playing, you know, all the different characters just they have different makeup on. So we have come a long way. It's sad what happened, but I think you still celebrate the fans, the fandom, like we said.
Right.
Again, we're all friends, we're family. Like Natasha said,
Right.
we're all family. I think that's what you celebrate.
Yeah.
Yes. Superhan says, probably Alex said, you're not elevating the negative part of the thing. We're not elevating that.
Right.
We're just
Right.
acknowledging it, but there's just so much more light and love to
I would
celebrate.
personally, if I was, I would put a disclaimer maybe at the beginning or the end, and that's all I would talk about that, and just talk about the fandom and what it meant to the fans and the actors to be on this show. That's what I would do, because
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's.
don't tell
there's
me
a
what
lot
I
of
can
ways
and
to
can't
do
do.
it. A lot of ways to do it, and it's just
Yeah.
the tricky part is that you.
Yeah, it's a tricky part. That's tricky.
It is tricky, but like Natasha was saying, I remember I got in line at 3 a.m, 2 a.m. for this Lost panel. I'm like going, I was old then, so it's like, but not everybody. Nobody took cuts in line. Nobody.
Yeah.
Everybody got.
celebration.
It was the most amazing thing I'd ever been a part of, and the Lost community is, and I'm not just saying this because I did a podcast on it. It's the best community in the world, and that's what you should focus on, and not what happened in the writers' room, because
But you
we
still
all want to learn from it.
Mhm.
But again, we know it happened, but we still want to love the show that brought us all together.
Yeah.
Speaking of the fandom, I was talking to Melody earlier, and she brought up, I don't know if she's still in the chat, but she brought up how this is one of the better fandoms, and there's so many fandoms that are so toxic, and she's never personally had any issue with the Lost fandom, and that really made me appreciate the Lost fandom even more so. And
Right.
I would say that we're good. However, I know that, at least for myself and other people that I know, if I hear someone
Don't say it.
Lost, if I hear, the ending was amazing. But if I hear somebody trash talking Lost, I will pounce, because it's almost like a cross between a Beyonce fan and a Lost fan. But but other than that, everyone is amazing. We just, don't talk about the ending, because I will. Yes.
Yeah.
They were dead the whole time.
they were dead the whole time.
Yeah.
Caleb, we need to get to you. We haven't even really gotten your take on this. You've been so patient.
Yes.
Well, that's okay. I feel like we've got past the negativity, and I hate to even bring up anything.
So I'm assuming you're right there Tuesday, bright and early, saw the news. Do you feel like you're in a better headspace now than you were a week ago? It's a really tough. I
have actually been in the middle of reading Mira's book, and I purposely did not skip. I was reading linearly, and the first thing I did was grab the book and skip. And it's not good, y'all. It's not good. I would highly advise you to get that. There's certain capital letters you will use, like C, for instance, as we've all been mentioning. And the way she was treated really bothered me in that aspect as well, because so much focus on the article was about the writer's room. And in my head, I was thinking, okay, this was such a global phenomenon. You had so many people represented on screen and things like that, and so much talent, so much diversity, but that wasn't going on in the writer's room. So therefore, that wasn't reflected necessarily on screen with all the people of color and their characters, in which we see, and probably would all agree that there are certain. I'm personally one of those people who will always say that there are flaws, obviously. in the show, so I'm not going to give it like 100% praise or whatever for that. But in terms of what everybody else was saying, I feel like people have a chance for growth. I feel like I've seen growth from some of these people that are being accused of these things, which undoubtedly and knowingly I fully believe. Yeah, I know I'm just rambling at this point. I'm so sorry. But once again, when I would urge y'all to read or get her book, because it just, I'm processing that. You know what I mean? So I've kind of turned it from the writer's room to, oh, there was on set stuff too. That was also not good. So you kind of have both things going on, and it's
one of the things in the show that I never liked. And I remember watching this episode for the first time because I was actually watching it with Jorge. Jorge was in town. And it is the episode, trying to remember the title, but it's when the submarine gets taken out. Anybody remember the title of that episode?
The Candidate.
Yeah. So, yeah. So
it's almost like you did a rewatch podcast about this.
Yeah. So Saeed, Jin, and Sun are taking out in the submarine all at the same time, one fell swoop. And for me, it never really felt right. It never really felt like it felt like they were literally getting swept under a rug. And I remember while I was watching that episode, I thought that I'm like, and Jorge was like looking back at me to see my reaction, to see if like, oh my gosh, we're losing 3 characters now. I wonder how Ralph's going to react to that if I'm just going to be a blubbering mess. And I wasn't. And it was just something that was just like, oh, that's kind of stupid. They should have had more involvement in the finale. I can't believe they just kind of died all at once. And then after reading the article, that sort of changed for me. And that bugged me more because the people that get off on the plane, the Ajira plane, I believe, are all white people. And I thought about that after reading this article. I was just like in my mental Rolodex going through Lost and seeing if there's problematic stuff. And now I'm afraid to do a rewatch because it's going to be more glaring. But those were just 2 of the things that that sort of came to mind after reading the article and reading the chapter, and then the beginning of chapter 6 today was like, yeah, that is kind of fucked up. Like the last 3 people of color are just kind of just unceremoniously drowned in the thing. I know Rose and Bernard are there. But I mean, their characters were such a side character, but it just felt like it always just kind of bugged me because I'm like, oh, I wish Saeed was there from the beginning. I wish he had a more ceremonious thing. He got killed and got brought back to life earlier that season, only to just drown in the sub, and then we're gonna lose Jin and Sun. All right, now Ji-Yun doesn't have parents, but. It's one of those things where, like, in the context of the show, I understand, like, okay, this kind of makes sense, sacrifice, all that's fine. But after reading the article, my mind starts wondering about these things.
Well, my issue is I honestly will never see the Echo death scene ever again in a new light. Like, it just, that was just horrendous. And then knowing about Harold and having to say Walt so many times, which was like this running gag and has been so long that anybody in the Lost communities, if you say that, they're going to know what you're talking about. And to know that could have been placed in there on purpose because of his request. Those scenes, are definitely going to be tough to watch, in addition to the ones that you just mentioned.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think, for new fans that, may have not read the article, or old fans who didn't, like Jack almost got away with it. Jack, you almost got away with not reading that article.
I know.
But it's, I don't know. It's tough because like Javi has known about this forever, and the other writers mentioned in this article have known about this forever. And it's one of those things where now I'm kind of like a little bit gun shy about the shows I decide to sort of put on that pedestal. Because I feel like every place I've ever worked have had problematic people and people that I didn't agree with, but I was super proud of the work I did. And so it's like, now it's like, do I even want to be a fan of something knowing that this could drop? I thought we were in the clear. Like, Lost was always this great thing, and it's mostly because of the community. But then you find out, 13 years later, hey, guess what? No, it was bad.
Can I just clarify?
I think Harry Potter fans have been dealing with this for a while now, and we may want to take a cue from them, which is, I know a lot of people that have just completely like removed her name from their websites, things like that, and that they like, she's nowhere to be found. I'm not saying that that necessarily needs to be the case. I feel like there are certain levels of growth that people have. If you are anti-vax and then somebody said, and they apologize for it and they realize it, and then they double down and go to trucker rallies, then it's like, okay, I'm done.
Who are you talking about? I have no idea.
So, there's just certain things, and
damn it, run.
I mean, honestly though, there's certain people who are like, and then the author of the books. So certain people are told repeatedly, this is wrong, you're hurting people, this is wrong, you're hurting people. And when they don't stop, that's the problem. You can learn and grow and move on, and those people can forgive you or not. And that doesn't matter. That's not anybody's business. But that's kind of how I feel that maybe we need to kind of take a cue from them and kind of look at kind of what they're doing.
Yeah. Joe, you had something?
I'm super inattentive, so I want to make sure to clarify the episode Ralph referenced was What They Died For, which is the third to last episode, and it wasn't an earlier season episode, but also on Ajira, we had Miles and we had Richard Alpert. So we did have two people of color on the Ajira plane. I'm just that anal. Okay.
Thank you. Because I honestly, it's been a while since I've rewatched Lost, probably because I watched it so many times.
Well, I was at the live Chiquita concert for What They Died For, and we were all bawling when the sub thing happened. But I distinctly remember my friend turning to me going, did they just kill off the three candidates of color except for Jorge? And I said, oh shit. I hadn't thought about it, and that's my bad. Yeah. But yes, I was so distracted by the gin and son of it deciding to leave their child that I didn't realize putting it all together. So Ralph, to your point,
was wrong.
That's a whole nother live stream. Okay. To your point though, Ralph.
That was the Royce Hall event, right?
Yes, it was Lost Live. Karen, you were there.
I did meet Damon that night. Yeah. And from what I remember, he wasn't an asshole. So I mean,
we were at the party together, weren't we?
I was at the party.
Yeah, so we were at the party. Yeah. I was there as well. Damon was very nice and social, and But that was
in the context of
we cried a lot at that episode. We did. Yeah.
Sorry, I had so much to get yelled at on Twitter tomorrow by someone going, "This was this episode."
They paused it back when I made the mistake and already sent me emails.
But
fair,
so
I did my
job.
I'm so sorry. I have to play the.
Natasha was talking.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, and I just had a question for everybody, only because because we've seen how sometimes you're able to separate the art from the artist. Just like you have the Harry Potter fandom that's still able to enjoy the fantasy of the book and the relationships that they have with other fans, and just like cut out the author who will not be named at all. So, but it also makes me think about like R. Kelly or something like that, where it's like something just happened that was so egregious, and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to separate the art from the artist because they're too entrenched in it. And like, even with Lost episodes, like those writers, their blood, sweat, and tears is in it. And if it's like racist blood, do we really want it? And it's like that was like one of the thoughts that I had when I first read that article. So I was just like, how do I actually feel about these people and their words that I'm sitting here enjoying. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like it's hard to not love Lost. But it's like, I know for me personally, I can't stop. I can't quit it.
I'm afraid to do the rewatch because I might discover something I might not have noticed before because of this.
Same.
That's what I'm afraid of. I love the show, but I'm afraid to revisit it because I might discover something new. Because even when I joined Jack on his rewatch, I had rewatched these countless times, and I was still discovering new things. But of course, it was like mysteries and garbage like that. but now I'm afraid I'm going to watch it and have a whole new set of eyes on it and discover things I didn't want to discover.
Right, but now if you watch
I don't want to uncork that light.
But see, if you're going to watch it with that predetermined, I'm going to find things in these episodes, then you're going to find things in the episodes, and you don't want that either, because that will ruin that would ruin the story for you, and you don't.
But that's what Lost is everyone who we've talked to in the doc, they talk about Lost fans as people who are like analytical, people who are smart, people who
it literally made me feel like Sherlock Holmes. Like I felt like I was putting on my little hat and my little bubbler, and I was excited to watch Lost to try to like literally pick apart every small detail of the show to try to find a clue. And so it's like, for me, it seemed like everything that happened on the show was super intentional. It was just very, very disappointing to hear some of that stuff that happened behind the scenes. It was very heartbreaking. Not to say that I necessarily put the writers on a pedestal, but to know that they can have such vile thoughts about someone just based on like race and things that you can't control, like being a woman or whatever. But
not even just thoughts, to be saying that shit in the room with other people around is insane. I don't have like bad thoughts in my head, but if I did, I would know like that's stupid to say out loud. It just drives me. It's all right. My cat.
I feel like I was in the Wizard of Oz. There's no place like home.
I know.
This is my magical telephone.
I thought I heard a cat meowing. Ralph, is that your cat?
That was one of them. That was Franz. Franz has a bit of FOMO and cannot deal with anyone going into the bathroom. He wants to know what's going on at all times.
Are you in a bathroom?
No, Stevie ran by.
Okay.
And used the restroom, and Franz was meowing outside until she let him in.
Gotta go.
We've been at it for an hour and 47 minutes, guys. I think we've said a lot. Listen, I've been dreading this since I announced it. I felt like it's something that someone needed to do. And I'm super glad I did. It's just being with you guys. The Lost fandom is family. 100% is family. You are my family. And I know San Diego Comic-Con's coming up, and Jay and Jack are going to be doing their annual Lost Fans Unite.
I guess we'll have something to talk about this time.
I mean,
do you want to announce? I don't. Jay, you know,
here's
Jay
the thing.
gave
Maybe
up
it'll be
the right
this.
to announce when it is. So if you want to,
maybe
announce
it'll be
go
this,
for it.
but with actual physical hugs. We could. That's the only thing I'm missing. I can't reach out.
But then I'm gonna miss you all because I never get to go to that. So I'm hugging you now.
Make it happen. Do what you can.
I want to go.
Use your slippers, your ruby slippers. There's no place like Comic-Con.
Okay, the Lost Fans Unite with Jay and Jack panel will be on Thursday, July 20th from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m. in the library.
And I will be there to moderate yet again if we're not shooting.
And Joe will be there as well. And I like that I filled out all the stuff for you guys for them and submitted it. And then like Joe and Ralph were both like, hey, are we going to be a part of this? And I was like, oh yeah. It's approved. And I already put your names on the thing. So I'm glad that I forgot to actually ask if you wanted to be included, but it all worked out.
It's always
there.
a highlight of
there
Comic-Con.
Yes.
I have so many.
Maybe for you.
Well, not for you. Ralph, thank you so much for doing this. I feel like it was healing and helpful. I can't speak for everyone, but I see a lot of nodding. But I also see, wow, his signage for all of the panels. I think just looking at these comments, and by the way, thank you so much to everyone who's making these comments. And I'm going to go and reread them, and later. But it's just been, I was super down. We've all been texting about it. It's like, and this has just reinvigorated my desire to remain a positive force in the fandom and be. I'm very proud of all of you. I'm proud of all of you for telling your truth tonight and continuing to be kind fans to other humans across the globe.
Yeah. And thanks for keeping the Lost legacy alive. Like we can work through this. We can work through this for sure. Let's go around the horn and do some quick final thoughts. We'll start with Caleb and work our way down to Taylor.
I just want to thank you for having me on here. I really appreciate it. I'm thankful for
I wish that StreamYard allowed me to add anyone I wanted. I feel like the Secret Society is my Patreon page.
It's apparently a secret because nobody could come in.
yeah. but it's
a little speakeasy.
Yeah, but because of them, I'm able to do the monthly big bundle, for StreamYard, and I was like, man, I'm paying their money that comes to the Patreon flips the bill, which is like $50 a month. You think I could get another person on? Like, give me one more, allow me. Jeez Louise. All right, that's my soapbox. Colleen.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Thanks everybody for being a fandom that agrees that racism is bad. Really happy to be a part of that. And fuck Carlton Cuse. All right, Jack's turn.
I don't know if I can top that one. I'd like to thank Ralph for ruining Lost for me, making me read the article. But,
I didn't want. I could have just let it go. I could have had you just pop in and come into the shitstorm.
Hey, let's talk about Lost.
Of emotions. Hey, what is
Lost great. I love Carlton Cuse.
But I'm glad you did this, and like I said, I think we just got to keep being fans because we're, like I said, like everyone keeps saying, we're a family, and that's it.
It's really true.
It is. I mean, it's
really true.
It's a family.
Karen?
Thank you guys for having this, Ralph. I'm glad you did this. And I will always and forever be Lost's biggest fan. And that's just the way it is. It's in my blood. It's the way it is. It is what it is. And I'm grateful for all of it. I'm not happy about what happened. Obviously, it's terrible. But let's be able to find a place of peace and continue to shine the island light as bright as we can, because we all need more of it. And only we can share all this love and light and Lost fandom and everything Lost-tastic about life with each other and the rest of the world. And we need all of each other more than ever. So, and thank you guys.
Thanks. Joe?
I would just say that if you'd like to follow up, what?
I was gonna say I mean, we all know you're talking about the way you've been talking. Yeah.
Just if you want to follow Cancer Gets Lost, that would be amazing. You could follow Cancer Gets Lost really by that name on Twitter and Instagram. We are no longer on Facebook, but cancergetslost.org. And when it comes to our auctions, bid together, buy alone.
I love it. Really, truly taking something positive, as far as Lost goes, as far as positivity goes. You're right there. Natasha?
Thank you so much for inviting me to this, Ralph. This was amazing. It felt extremely cathartic. And it just reinforced the love that I have for the show and the community. And, I just hope that you guys continue on with the documentary and kick ass with it. And good luck, Joe. I'm so happy that you're still doing Cancer Gets Lost. And you know what? It doesn't even matter whose signatures are on those pieces. I'm still going to be bidding because I love what it stands for.
Me too.
But yeah, it's like I just appreciate all of you guys for being awesome fans of Lost and that are not like racists, and and also, like Colleen said, fuck Carlton. But yeah.
Yeah. Nikki.
Thank you, Ralph. I really appreciate that you've done this. Back when I used to keep my blog, it was very much it was a very tight community. It was a very lost filled community where when things happened, we came together as a group and we worked through them. And now I don't blog after Game of Thrones. I stopped doing that, but I've moved it more over to Facebook. And now Facebook is the place where I will post something and say, how are you all feeling? And we can work through it almost like therapy. Like everyone has said, this is a fandom that is unlike any other. I've been in so many fandoms. This is so different. These are people who have we mimic what we saw on the show. We do come together in difficult situations, and this is a difficult situation. And like Natasha and Colleen both said, I'm thrilled to be part of a fandom that goes, well, that was shitty when we heard what happened in the writers' room, and didn't go, that's no big deal. No, everyone hates this story. Every one of us we're literally crying over it. It's that awful. And I also love how strongly we've now fought back against it in the last week. This live stream wouldn't have happened if we hadn't found that out. And now we're coming together even stronger. I have heard from people and reached out to people I haven't talked to in a long time going, how are you feeling? How are you? And this is what we're doing. We're trying to work through it because we love Lost. The show is still great. The people who worked on it on screen, behind the screen, there were amazing writers on that show and amazing actors and directors and Michael Giacchino, everyone involved. I mean, they made a work of art that, yes, it's been tarnished. It's still there, and we can work on getting the tarnish off by making it better and making this sort of stuff stop. And I'm just so thrilled to see all these faces and to talk to all of you, because I can't imagine better people to have discussed this with, and to all the people in the comments as well. It's been remarkable. So thank you, Ralph. Thanks for putting this together. I think it's been amazing.
Nikki Stafford for president.
I'm Canadian.
I agree with you.
She's
Rules
Canadian.
don't matter
She's gonna
anymore
give
when
us
it comes to
universal
presidents.
health care and no income taxes.
I forgot you were in Canada.
Really quick.
That's all right. My
really
name is
quick before
Karen, and I
Taylor-
live in Florida. Top that.
Oh,
Yeah. Karen, you got a lot of things in the wrong check mark
That's right. I
box.
got a lot on my shoulders.
before we get to Taylor, I have to issue a correction. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I was wrong. The fans just sent me a million messages on Twitter to tell me what they died for referenced the candidate. They died in the episode before. The live Giacchino thing was what they died for.
What they died for.
I misremembered.
Yes, okay.
The person whispering in my ear was a friend at my house
Yes.
and not the
Okay,
commenter.
yeah.
I don't want to get yelled at, and I don't want anyone to yell at Ralph. Okay, I'm done.
Caleb's in the clear. Everyone's in the clear. We all know Lost inside and out perfectly.
Yes.
Our minds are a steel trap. We're not aging at all. Our brains are
I don't know about
nice and young. Taylor,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us. Last thoughts.
Yeah. No pressure, right?
Oh, I mean,
look,
I got
All
stuff
the
to say,
pressure.
yeah, Ralph will end it. Thank you for doing this. This is helpful. We're all processing a thing that didn't happen to us, but kind of happened to us just now. Look, we started making this documentary. Ralph and I have been working on it coming up on 2 years now. And it's been pure joy talking about Lost with people who love Lost. And it's been, from the very beginning, it's been all about the fan community. And tonight just proves how important that is, and how, like many of you said, when something bad happens to a family, they pull together and they get through it as a family. And so I just hope we can get through it and finish the documentary and make it something that the fans are still really proud of, but is also, you know, honest. And we take a look at this thing for better or worse and say, we love this thing. And this is, and you never set out doing a documentary about something from 20 years ago thinking the story is going to keep unfolding, right?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
a month ago, we're talking about Lost. Like, we knew the beginning, middle, and end of everything that had happened because it happened before. Whatever happened, happened. And it's still happening. And that's part of, you know, the importance of the show. This kind of thing that came out in this article, I'm going to guarantee you that it happened on almost every TV show from 1940, whenever TV started, until today, right? This happens on every TV
100%.
show. People don't care unless it's a show as important as this, right? Like, that's why we're all talking about it. That's why it's important to talk about. So it kind of just reinforces how important this show is, because, you know, we're crying over an article about a thing that happened in a writer's room of a show.
We weren't even there.
We weren't there 18 years ago. These are people, you know, I've never met Carlton Cuse, and his words from 20 years ago just like really hurt my feelings in a way that is really hard to describe, but here we are, and we will get through it as a community.
Yeah. So essentially, Lost right now, we have daddy issues. Like all the best cowboys.
All the best cowboys.
And it's something that we're going to have to work through, and it's something, you know, the silver lining in all this is we don't have to do it alone. Any Lost fans out there who want to reach out to any of us via Twitter or anywhere in the comments section below this video, there'll always be a Lost fan to help talk things out, because we've been doing that for 20 years. We've been trying to figure everything out concerning Lost this whole time. We're analytical. I believe we're all super smart. We're personal. Lost was a show filled with mystery, but it was also a show about relationships, strained relationships of people coming together. I, for one, am a huge fan of Sawyer and Juliet, sort of this impossible power couple that came together, and it makes me weep every time they get that Apollo bar. It makes me cry every time, and I'm getting a little misty-eyed now, but that's what the Lost community is. There are some Sawyers.
It's about redemption.
It's about redemption as well.
And it's also about the place that we all made together so we can find one another.
Yeah.
Taylor,
not
you
my own
laughing
horn,
at
but
me?
I'm really glad.
No.
I'm really glad I built this place for us to come together.
I'm kidding.
But it's just one of those things, and I think in the show, Hurley is the keeper of the island. He's there to keep the light shining. Here in the real world, it's this fan community, and not just us that have shown up. There are people I reached out to who couldn't make it, who were still uncomfortable about talking about this right now. But I just want to let everybody know that we are all there for you. You could find us online. We're everywhere. Lost fans are everywhere, and I'm hoping that I see everybody in San Diego for Comic-Con. I'm hoping I get to go, and if I don't get to go, it's because Taylor and I are moving forward with the documentary and having a blast talking to people about Lost. I'm sure the interviews are going to have a slight different twist to it, but I still feel like we all still love talking about it, and I can't wait. I can't wait to get back into it and try to continue to figure stuff out. I just want to let everybody know, thank you so much for taking the time out. 2 hours is a lot of time to devote out of your busy schedules to talk about.
Yeah, dude, I have to pee so bad right now.
I mean, you can
I know at least statistically one of you do too. Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't, but I'm completely dehydrated. I cried way more than I thought I was. I thought I wasn't going to cry at all. But it's all because of you guys. You are my family. I love every single one of you. Everybody in the chat. I love all you guys for showing up. All your comments will be here on this video forever, on the stream. Anybody who is discovering this after the live stream, thank you for watching up until this point. Continue leaving comments down below. I know that's a ploy to get more numbers to your site or whatever, but no, this is a conversation that will not end. The Lost conversation will not end, and I love every single one of you.
Hey, Ralph.
And
Love you back.
Ralph, can I put an addendum to something that you said real quick earlier? And I will be real quick because I really do have to pee. You mentioned how this topic can make people uncomfortable. And I just want to throw out there that if something like this makes you uncomfortable, it's probably because, you know, you're a good person that morally knows that it is wrong. Please don't bury it inside. Please don't ignore it. Please don't say, you know, like brush it off your shoulders. Like, it's okay to be uncomfortable about something that is an uncomfortable subject because, but, you know, please don't push it aside back into the darkness. It is something that needs to be acknowledged, happened, and it's an unfortunate truth, but like, understand that you're not the only person that it makes uncomfortable, but you have to acknowledge it because it is not fair to the people that went through it to ignore it because it makes you uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep. Just like Colleen said, darkness dies in the light. So it's okay to acknowledge it, shine the light on it, and then heal from it, grow.
Yeah.
I love you, Lottie.
I love you guys. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to do a quick outro video, which will showcase everybody who's part of the CasinoSkunk Secret Society, my Patreon page. Thank you for them for making this possible. If you guys want to stick around a little bit after this and do some proper goodbyes to each other, that would be great. It's like, we'll see you on the other side of this video. It's like 30 seconds of stuff, but thank you so much again.
Namaste.
And let's keep that light.
Bye.
Namaste.
Bye.
Bye.